So with that, I'm so excited to invite Carousel. She's been there from the day one with Women in Cloud, helping us to really shape how we create economic access for women. So Cara, welcome. She's currently the Senior IT Manager for the Application Management as a Service and Modernization. And really, she's really responsible for the Boeing's Application Managed as a Service program, which includes the modernization in leveraging cloud solution. She was the first person who came in and said, we need to drive cloud transformation in Boeing. And she's been working for the last 4 years relentlessly and emphasizing more women to be here engaged. And she has 3 amazing children who every day provide a grounding and what a life is about balance. She enjoys playing guitar in her band, Tune Treasures, kayaking, hiking, and camping. So with that, Cara, welcome to the Women in Cloud community and the Fortune 100 Lunch and Learn series. And thank you for making this possible for our community. You can take it from here. And yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chaitra. I really appreciate it. You know, we have a saying in the sense of if you can make it work in Boeing, you can make it work anywhere, because we really have pretty much every single technology you can imagine in here. So, but I wanted to definitely acknowledge Chaitra, absolutely amazing leader for us, and our experience with Women in Cloud has been amazing. It has been a journey, definitely over the last 5 years, and you know, it's been exciting to see all the connections and how we're actually continuing to grow and make a difference and move the needle. So I'm excited to introduce you to our amazing, we have, just think about how big Boeing is, right? So, but we've got some amazing women leaders in our company. And so I wanted to definitely have them introduce themselves. And so we've got Michelle Demir-Corio and Michelle Denny and Jennifer Davis. And we definitely have Paris Forrest. So want to give them a few minutes to introduce themselves, and we'll just go from left to right. So go ahead, Michelle Demir-Corio. All right. How about with this? How about we start with Michelle Denny, since you're showing up on the screen? Why don't we start with you first?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Michelle Denny, and I am the Director of IT's Business Transformation Office, which means I'm leading the program that's going to be delivering work transformation for how we're going to deliver our products to the business in the future. And I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Jennifer Davis?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Davis. I'm a Director in Information Technology, responsible for the development of engineering systems, product data management, and test and evaluation. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Paris?
Good day, everybody. I'm Paris Forrest, Senior Director of End User Services. I am responsible for our client computing, end user support and services, and also our communication and collaboration, which includes all of our cloud-enabled productivity. So happy to be here with you all.
Thank you. Excellent. And please, Michelle Demir-Corio still out there? Did she drop?
She texted me and didn't get an invite to the panel, so I just sent a note, so hopefully we can get her invited and added.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we'll work that behind the scenes. All right, so there are some key questions that we had that was part of this panel. And what we're going to start with is more of a continuation of our introduction with our leaders here, and so we can get to know them. And then I'll move into some specific questions that each leader will be able to answer. And then we also have a couple extra questions if we have time. So for all the panelists that are here from Boeing, the question that we have for all of you is, as a woman in tech, what personal or professional experiences led you to choose a career in technology? So why don't we start with Michelle Denny.
Oh, sorry, and actually, we had a preview. Jennifer was going to start with this question.
Oh, this one's to us all.
To all of you, you can answer this this one.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
I don't mind starting.
I'm trying to text Michelle to tell her invite's coming. So actually,
Let's start.
I am
Let's start with Jennifer Davis. How about that? That'll give you some time to work.
okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Real
You
time.
know, I thought about this, and the interesting thing is I didn't actually choose to go into technology. I went to university for pre-med and chemistry. Some things happened that I didn't get to continue down that path. And I got tired of the job I was at as a receptionist for a company. And I had a friend that had a sister and brother-in-law that worked for Boeing. And they actually got me an interview with the help desk. And I had not really had any computing experience, but I just told them, hey, you know, I'm a quick learner. You know, I do a good job. So I hired on as a contractor in August. And then by October, I was a full-time Boeing employee and really enjoyed that job, did a bunch of different things within the help desk. And then I actually got a great mentor. I ended up losing my father in 1999, and you know, my mentor at Boeing kind of took on that place because my father was one that I always asked for career guidance from, and that mentor actually always pushed me into other areas. So I was in the help desk for a while, and then he gave me an opportunity to kind of do a program office type of role along with application development. And that was back in 2001. And I've been in development in numerous facets throughout the Boeing company since. So I kind of fell into it, loved it, and continue to stay. And 31 years later, I'm still loving it.
Excellent. Okay, Michelle Demir-Corio has just joined us. So why don't we go back and let her do her introduction? Sorry about whatever happened, but welcome.
Oh no, the joy of technology, right? Just
Exactly.
do one little different thing and it kind of throws you off. So no, I threw out a lifeline to Paris and she got me going. So thanks for your patience and apologize for that. Michelle DeMercurio, responsible for enterprise IT operations here at Boeing.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so let's continue what we were doing with the question. Let me know if you need me to repeat the question. But Paris, let's have you go next, and then Michelle Denny will go with you after Paris.
Paris, you're on mute.
Yeah, down at the bottom, you should be able to turn off or turn the red off, the mic on. And still muted. Move your mouse
We're
down.
rocking our technology experience here, aren't we?
I know, right? Move your mouse down and see if you can undo the red. Okay, so let's do this. We'll help you behind the scenes. Michelle Denny, let's have you go next, and then we'll go Michelle Demir-Curio.
Okay, thank you. So I always start my intro for most people and tell them how I'm a Boeing brat. My dad worked for Boeing for 34 years, and my mom worked here for 25. And in fact, my two sisters also worked at Boeing and left to go do other things, and I'm the one that stayed here. Similar to Jennifer, I hired in BCA airplane programs, and so actually was a project manager in that arena, and had to support a big IT project. And because of my business knowledge, IT needed that in trying to figure out how to make the software work. After a few years on that big project, and for my peers, it was DCAC MRM, and that'll make them all cringe. I got pulled into IT and actually asked to be a project manager there. And for the record, for my family, it was called going to the dark side. They couldn't imagine wanting to go to IT. And you know, through the years, I had found that because I'm not a traditional techie person, that I bring a different and diverse perspective that has demonstrated a different way to add value. And Of course, as most of us know, technology causes all kinds of challenges to the business, and it's all about collaborating and solving problems, which are things that I totally enjoy to do. And so that's how I have managed to stay in technology and continued my career here.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, how about Michelle DeMercurio?
Yeah, thanks. So I have a little different story. I actually am an IT by trade. And my story really began with my dad purchasing, I don't even remember what it was at the time, but you know, the first Apple computer, home computer that we could purchase. I don't remember if it was the 2E or what it was at the time anymore, but he really always had the latest and greatest gadgets, and he's still like that to this day. And so he bought this computer, and in order to do much with it, you sort of had to figure out how it actually worked, the nuts and bolts of it. And so he bought me programming books, and I sort of got started in that way and tinkering. And honestly, I never ever thought about going into computers or technology, but I got to college and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my advisor suggested, oh, you know, take this class, take that class, take this programming class, trying to help me explore. And I got into my first programming class, learning how to program in Pascal. And the instructor was a woman who I credit me going into technology. I credit her with my choice to go into technology from that day, that she recognized in me that it was something I was good at and that I appeared to enjoy. And she pulled me aside and talked to me about how even then, way back then, because I'm old now, it was so important to get more women into technology, and encouraged me, became my advisor, encouraged me, helped me make connections at the university in order to really successfully complete a degree there in computer science. So she was my beacon into the field, and I'll say that I may have landed here eventually, but I really appreciate that she took the time to recognize a passion in me and that I really had an affinity to programming, and helped me see that there was possibility for me in a classroom of all men. So, you know, I really, a little different than my two cohorts here that shared their story, but just amazing beginning. Professor Ruthie Dare, my mentor, my inspiration.
Excellent. Okay, Etsy, we're gonna come back to Paris as soon as she comes back on. She's going off and on there. So let's go to the next question. We have Jennifer, a question specifically for you lined up here. What are some challenges, specifically in biases and imposter syndromes, have you faced in the tech industry?
I think for me, you know, in thinking of this question, imposter syndrome really comes to mind. I've always been a people person, even though I'm in technology. I love working with folks. I love bringing folks together, getting rid of roadblocks. I really focus on building those relationships. So being in the technology sector, I felt like an imposter for a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just making it through because I really pull these people together, until I read the Covey book, The Speed of Trust. And The Speed of Trust talked about, building those relationships. But if people don't have the confidence that you have the competence to do the job, then you're not going to succeed. And that's when the aha moment came on for me, that, oh my gosh, I'm a little better than I thought I was. I'm not such an imposter because I get the job done. You know, I can speak technical, I can work the technical. I just value working on the relationships. But it really helped me get over that imposter syndrome by realizing that they also have the confidence that I am competent enough to do this job. And so I think that is one of the biggest things, the biggest aha moments for me. And I really stress that with a lot of my mentees, reading the speed of trust, understanding, because some go the other way. It's, my technical will get me, the accolades for the competence. But if you don't have that people aspect of it also, then your technical could fall on deaf ears, the way that you deliver it. So finding that balance, between getting to your message across in a way that people connect with, but then also that competence of the technical abilities, I think is one of my biggest takeaways on that question.
Great, thank you. Okay, next question from Michelle Denny. What advice would you give to women in the tech field?
So thanks. Interesting enough, I had thought about this question as well, and I just had a dialogue with a mentee that was talking about where to go next, and if she was ready or not. And I think one of the things that I really want to stress is, as women, when we go for different assignments, our tendency is to think we have to have every requirement nailed 100%, right? Unless we are sure we can nail that job, we're not willing to take a chance. And so when I was chatting with her, it's don't wait. If it's something that you have an interest and you're passionate about, right? I mean, I actually had my last boss tell me, I didn't hire you because you could do the job. I hired you because I knew you could grow into the job. So I think that's a really key message. So be bold, chase your passions. I think that's really important. The other thing I want to mention, and I feel so excited to be here with the women from Boeing that I am, is kind of finding your tribe and missing Paris. But Michelle, Jennifer, and Paris are three of my coworkers that are incredibly wonderful to have in your corner, right? I have at different times reached out to each one of them for career challenges, people challenges, right? Jennifer, and that whole imposter stuff. And so I think for women in general, having a tribe that you can go to as your sounding board and have absolute trust, so that, as I say, I can be Michelle behaving badly to them and they're okay with that, and they help me not be Michelle behaving badly with other people. So that's a good thing. The last thing that I'll mention is that have grace and patience with yourself. We are our own worst enemy, and we judge ourselves so critically when it comes to doing a job. And so, know that you're doing your best, you're going to learn and grow. And as someone says, the way we talk to ourselves is never the way we would talk to a friend, our child, right? Or someone who works with us. And so I think it's really important that you all give yourself grace and allow you to grow in your careers and technology and what you do. The last thing I'll bring up, because I just recently was reading a book on this, on how other women help women rise. And one of the things that was really an aha moment, Jennifer, for me was, it talks a lot about sometimes we have the impression that if someone else succeeds or does well, that means less for us, right? We work from a place of not enough instead of abundance. And so what I try to think about is there is no limitations to the capacity or the capability for me or others to succeed. So don't ever, right, think that, oh no, if someone does well, I won't, right? Make your own more pie, right, to go join and do something else. So those were some of the things that I would share. And, by the way, I'm still learning in this phase as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. All right, Paris, hi.
Sorry, hi, I'm hoping I'm back. Can you
challenges there? Hey, I've been saving your questions for you, so I would love to be able to go back and definitely we want to hear from you. So don't leave, stay there. Okay, so let's go back, and I want to definitely give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. And so the question that everybody started with was, as a woman in tech, what personal and or professional experiences led you to choose a career in technology?
Thanks, Kara. I appreciate you going back for me and apologize for the delay, but here we are, better
no
late
problem.
than never. So for me, it was a collection of things. I was always really, really good with technology when I was little. I remember being in second grade and I was the only one of my classmates that could ever get the computer to work when it was time to play Oregon Trail. And so the teacher would always send me just a few minutes ahead of the class to make sure that I had booted up our little machine so that myself and my classmates, we could do our computer lab work. And somehow along the journey, I had forgotten that that was something that was just a natural inclination for me. So by the time that I got to school, I was actually studying pre-med biology as well. And I was all set to go down a path and a route, and I was getting ready to go to medical school. And my mother actually worked in the department where I wound up interning. And she was like, I know you want to be a doctor, and I think that's amazing and it's a beautiful thing, but I really think you should think about this IT thing because you've always been really good with computers. And so I came and I did that internship. And I didn't burn the building down. So they asked me to come back and come full-time to work. And I transitioned from a career thinking that I was going to become a pediatric oncologist, and I wound up as a junior developer. So for me, the path was very adjacent. And I'm really grateful that educationally, from an educational perspective, I did a lot of study and research, and the sciences all worked together. So when I became a developer, my perspective was much different than those that had been studying development from the jump. So it was definitely one of those sideways fall into IT moments, but one that I'm really grateful for.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So I'm going to actually ask you your question because you were actually up next. So apologize that you get to do back to back, but hopefully you're warmed up now. Okay, so let's definitely ask your question. What are you most excited about for the future of technology?
I am most excited about the prospect of how productivity changes with data and information being off devices and on the perimeter, right at the edge. And so how that's going to enable global productivity for entities like the Boeing company and really for our customers and just the whole marketplace. I think about how cool it is to think about not having to figure out how we bring new customers and new businesses on board and collaborate seamlessly across the globe. Right now, that is not something that's very easy for anyone to really do outside of the commercial market. So when I think about the possibilities there from the work that I get to do every single day, I get really excited about how cloud enablement in some of the spaces that allow us to connect with one another from one part of the globe to the other, how that becomes so much more seamless in a cloud-enabled future. So it's very geeky in my head, and definitely close to what I do and selfish, but it's very much what excites me, thinking about being able to streamline the productivity for my teammates in a way that's enabled by technology.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. All right. So I do have a couple extra questions if we have time, which looks like we do. So this is open for anyone to answer. Hopefully we'll get a couple of you to answer each one of these. What is something you believed earlier in your career but think about differently now?
Well, maybe I will, if you don't mind, I'll jump in and maybe foot stomp a little bit of what Michelle Denny shared earlier around she didn't say it this way, but really about taking risk. In her comment around growing into the role, I really think I've been lucky enough through the many years I've been at Boeing to play many different roles within IT. And I really think that the only way I was able to get those opportunities was first to perform incredibly well, or as best as I could in the role I was playing at the time, but also in being willing to step into the next role before I was really ready. And what I mean by that is not necessarily from a capability perspective, but from the perspective of there were several times in my career where I loved what I was doing. And there were things I was in the middle of that I wanted to finish. But when I was presented with an opportunity that felt a little risky and was going to take me away from that, I had good mentors and coaches around me that helped me understand why it was good for the team and good for me to take that risk and step away from something that I felt was going well, moving towards well-oiled, to go help in another area. So I really think for me, it's about seizing the opportunity when it comes, even if you're not really ready.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback onto that, Michelle, spot on. That was exactly kind of the lane that I was getting ready to go down as well. And I think one thing that I think about differently is you really don't need to be an expert in an area of technology to lead that area of technology. You have to be an expert listener and an expert learner and an expert empathy person to really grow the capability around you with really smart and amazing people. So that's something that I really think about differently when the next challenges come about. I don't say to myself, wow, I don't know anything about that. I get excited now because it gives me an opportunity to expand my learning.
Excellent. Anybody else would like to, Michelle or Jennifer, would you like to expand upon that question? What is something you believed early in your career but think about differently now?
So I have to say I've gone through a couple different circles early in my career, which is kind of interesting, right? So I, similar to Jennifer, have 30 plus years here at Boeing. And when I first hired in, my dad worked here, and he told me that it was a very Theory X management type, systems. And I was like, oh my God, Dad, this is 1990, you're crazy. And then my first day at work, I had a male manager ask me to get him a cup of coffee, right? And it was like, I responded in a way that was not so nice about it, right? But I've definitely, I was shocked by that behavior, right? Didn't think that could be possible in a big corporation. It was just my lens wasn't there. And what's been interesting is, I would say now in IT, we still are underrepresented as women for sure, but totally seeing that change in regards to that, and a great deal because of the ladies that are sitting here or visual here on the screen with me, right? All of you in the passion and the promotion of each other, the learning and the types of things that they've done. And so it is nice to see even a corporation as big as Boeing on that evolution journey. We have a lot of work left. Paris is part of our diversity and racial task force that's really focusing on that. And so, that's also my kind of hope for the future, right? Is that things are changing, right? The diversity and the movement towards women and our ability to hold leadership roles. It's just phenomenal. And as a mother of daughters, right, that makes me even, excited as well, is to see opportunities that they're facing that never were there for me. So, it's just fun to see that evolution. And by the way, they call me out when I'm not behaving appropriately. When they say, hey, Mom, you got to show other people this is the way you should act. And so that's also something different, right? They hold me accountable to be the best me and to represent, women and challenge me to be my best. So that's also something else I'd add.
Great, thank you. All right, Jennifer, would you like to take on that question too? It seems to hit a number of topics, so that's why I was having all of you answer it. But what is something you believed early in your career but think about differently now?
Yeah, I think one thing that really comes to mind is, Michelle DiMercurio hit on it a little bit of, you do a good job and you get moved on to something else, but never thought about self-promotion. Just kind of thought, if I do a good job, it will get noticed. But then, I kind of watched some of my male peers, and they were more aggressive in tooting their own horn. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I finally learned that there's nothing wrong. And really what was one of the most aha moments for me was my director at the time was retiring. And he was talking to his boss in his office, and his boss said, what am I going to do? You are leaving a gap. And all of a sudden I thought to myself, I'm like, well, my boss's job is supporting flight, fleet, and sales and marketing. My last 3 senior management positions have been flight, fleet, and sales and marketing. And I got up out of my desk. I walked into the office and I said, "Your answer is right here. You won't have to do any training. I know all the customers. I know the domain. I still get questions from them, even though I don't work in that area anymore." And that was really the first time I ever did that self promotion. And it felt so good. I said, "At least give me a shot to become a director." And they actually gave me the opportunity. But so that's one thing that I would say is, women tend to think, head down, work hard, you'll get recognized. But where men, not afraid to toot their own horn. And I've really learned that it's not a bad thing. I'm going to learn from them.
Excellent. All right. So Paris, how about what has been your biggest learning opportunity?
Ooh, how long do we have?
Yeah.
How much time? I'm gonna, just because it's the closest thing to now, my last big challenging assignment, I got tapped on my shoulder and asked to lead from concept to execution, our project to product transformation with IT and DA. And it was such a massive and expansive and nebulous statement of work that just didn't have a whole lot of clarity around the what, the how, the when, the where, the why. And it really challenged me as an individual to spin up quickly in my learning on the individual components of what that meant. And then also spin up quickly as a leader on how to let a team be creative in a space that it was literally nothing but a black hole. So for me, that has been one of the most amazing learning opportunities from the perspective of being completely holistic. I had to grow in my own personal learning. I had to figure out really quick how to grow as a leader with one of the most diverse teams I have ever had. And when I say diversity, I mean every single intersection that you can have on a wheel of diversity, I had represented in a team of 12 people. And, the promise of that is that it's going to be utopia, but the reality is that it was chaos every day because everybody had polarizing views of the work that we were trying to do. So that grew me up as a leader and helped me to recognize that, when you have the kind of diversity that you've been hoping for and wishing for, you have to also make sure that you encourage everyone that we all get to be right. And if we're all right, let's take the best parts of all of our rightness and make something amazing. And then really trying to deliver that to a 6,000 person organization, trying to figure out how to make that real, relevant, and personal for all of those heartbeats. How to make sure that we brought our leaders along on the journey, because it wasn't about affecting a team, it was about affecting everyone and the ups and downs of that journey. So it's been probably the most terrifying, but also the most rewarding experience and learning opportunity. And I know a lot of my friends out there that are on the line here, and all of my friends that I'm on this panel with went with me on that journey. So it definitely is the one that stands out for me.
Yeah, we lost Kara.
Who's taking over, ladies?
I don't know how much. Oh,
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say we don't have much time left, but I did see. There's Grace.
So thank you so much, ladies. This conversation is really, I saw the chat on fire, responding to everything to share. You were so honest in your responses. And thank you, Kara, for really leading an exceptional panel. I know that everyone here has learned so much, and that's not it for today. So I want to thank you all as we conclude the panel portion. Kara, were there any closing remarks you wanted to share to close the panel before we move to the solution?
Well, I definitely want to personally thank everybody to be part of this. And as you're seeing, it definitely is an interesting experience when you have to go outside of our company. But also, I wanted to connect the dots. I wanted to say this, but I was kind of, staying on the script here. But, think about it. All of us are, 30 plus years theoretically. And, we stayed at Boeing for reasons. I get asked this all the time. Why do you stay at Boeing? You could go work someplace else. And I keep having the same answer in the sense that it's because we get to do so many complex technology areas. We don't lock into one product area as an example. And so that's been an interesting experience. But the other one I want to connect the dots on is that I also was on the medical path. And so I thought that was interesting to connect with Jennifer and Paris's path. I did my internship with Boeing under Dr. Parker. We had a huge exercise physiology lab in those days, 30 plus years. And I was the only person selected from the West Coast ever to be part of that program. And that's how I got introduced to Boeing and loved the corporate environment, something bigger than myself for some reason. And so when I was out in the medical field, I hated the hierarchy, because if you're not a doctor, you're just pretty much nothing with a bachelor's. And so I was like, okay, I need to get out of this thing. And I loved, anyway, that was when computing was just starting, really. And so that was exciting to be part of Boeing when we were able to do everything, including pulling cables with networking and end-to-end. So I learned every single system we have in the company back then. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, the parallels, and excited to be part of this. So thank you.
Absolutely, Kara, and thank you for sharing your personal stories and your journeys. Again, I echo all the comments that are going through the and the sharing of thanks and gratitude for what you shared today.